Jimmy Haslam just said the Browns never wanted Shedeur Sanders, and Stephen A. Smith lost IT. Is this sabotage from the top, or is the NFL still punishing Deion Sanders through his son? Buckle up, this changes everything.
Back in Cleveland is nothing new. The Browns continue to have a quarterback battle with a very crowded QB room that includes fifth-round pick Shedeur Sanders. While Shedeur hasn't had too many reps with the first-team offense, owner Jimmy Haslam was asked about the narrative that he wanted the franchise to draft Shedeur. Listen to what he had to say.
If you'd have told me, let's see, we picked him on Saturday, right? Friday night driving home, y'all are going to pick Shedeur, I would say that's not happening. But we had a conversation early that morning, and then we had a conversation later that day. I think we had the right people involved in the conversation. At the end of the day, that's Andrew Berry's call. Andrew made the call to pick Shedeur. Just like who's going to start or what play we're going to call is Kevin's call. But that's Andrew's call. He made the call.
The moment Jimmy Haslam opened his mouth, everything changed. Because in Cleveland, quarterback controversies aren't new, but this one hit different. This time, the noise wasn't just about who's under center, it was about why Shedeur Sanders is even on the roster. And more importantly, whether the franchise even wanted him there in the first place. Now pause. Let this next moment sink in, because it might just define the future of the Browns and Shedeur Sanders himself. Friday night, the eve of the NFL draft's final rounds, Haslam says if you told him then that the Browns would draft Shedeur Sanders the next day, he'd have said it wasn't happening. Not maybe, not unlikely, he said. Flat out, that's not happening. But what happened next? Nobody saw it coming, not even the critics. A morning meeting, a sudden shift, and by the end of the day, Cleveland had pulled the trigger on Deion Sanders' son. So, what changed? Who changed their mind? Haslam insists the decision came down to GM Andrew Berry, that he just made the call. But if it was that simple, why was the owner already disowning it on live television? Why was he so eager to say, "Don't look at me, I didn't do this"? That's when Louis Riddick, former NFL executive and no stranger to how front offices work, stepped in, and he didn't hold back. According to Riddick, Haslam's words sent one loud message: Shedeur is ice skating uphill. Think about that. A fifth-round rookie already facing skepticism from the media now has to battle doubters in his own building. And the worst part? That doubt starts all the way at the top. You don't say we weren't even thinking about him if your entire organization is united. You don't walk back a draft pick unless there's someone behind closed doors saying, "He's not our guy." Riddick wasn't buying the PR spin, and neither should we. He knows what those backroom meetings look like. He's been in them. He's seen how personal it can get, and he's seen what happens when players walk into a building where not everyone wants them to succeed. So let's ask the hard question. Was this really a football decision, or was it something else? Because from the outside, it looks like Cleveland never wanted Shedeur Sanders, and from the inside, it sounds like Shedeur knows it.
Better. If he's better than Dylan Gabriel, and he's better than Pickett, and he's better than Flacco, he will start on a team that is starved. They've been to a Super Bowl. On a team that is starved. On a city that is starved for a winner, that hasn't had a quarterback in a long time. If he plays well, that includes preseason, he's going to get his chances.
Okay, there's two things that have to be in place, though, Dog. Okay, one, he has to have opportunity.
He got opportunity.
Do that. Well, okay. His own father said he didn't want him to come to training camp because he doesn't get any reps. Okay? His own father said he doesn't want me to come to training camp because he said, "Dad, I'm getting maybe 3 or 4 reps of practice." A practice.
It's a week.
Okay, so number 2.
It's a week in the
Okay, let me tell you something about training camp. In the beginning of training camps is typically when everyone kind of gets indoctrinated to what we do as a system offensively and defensively. As it goes along, people start falling by the wayside because then they start paring down. Because you know what they're ultimately training camp is used for? To get ready to play the regular season.
While everyone else was still reacting to Haslam's comments, another bombshell dropped. Word got out from Deion Sanders himself that Shedeur was getting barely 3 or 4 reps per practice. Let that sink in. Not per drill, not per series, per day. In a league built on competition, where you're told that if you earn it, you'll play. This is what Shedeur's up against. No first-team reps, no fair shot, just a crowded quarterback room and a coaching staff that's already leaning toward guys like Flacco, Gabriel, and DTR. And let's be honest, if your own father doesn't want you to show up to training camp because he knows you're not going to be treated fairly, something's seriously broken. Stephen A. Smith saw that too. And what he said next, it shook the room. See, Stephen A. wasn't just talking football. He was talking history. He was talking about what this league has done and keeps doing to certain players, certain families, and yes, certain black quarterbacks. He said this drop to the 5th round wasn't just about Shedeur's tape. It was about punishing Deion Sanders. Because let's be real, Shedeur was projected as a top 3 quarterback early in the draft process. His mechanics, NFL level, his poise, beyond his years. And yet, somehow he falls all the way to pick 144. Stephen A. called it what it was, a hit job. Not coordinated, not collusion. Just a league-wide grudge held against a father who's never played by their rules. A father who wears sunglasses at press conferences. Who tells the truth even when it's uncomfortable, and who refuses to kiss the ring. Deion Sanders made enemies, and his son paid the price. And this is where Cleveland made the move that rewrote the entire season. Instead of protecting their new rookie, they exposed him. Instead of insulating him from the noise, Jimmy Haslam walked into a media session and added fuel to the fire. And now, the questions aren't about whether Shedeur can play, they're about whether he ever had a real shot to begin with. But champions aren't made in comfort. What Shedeur did next proved exactly that. Because while the reps were limited and the support lukewarm at best, Shedeur hasn't complained. He hasn't lashed out. He's just stayed locked in. And in those few preseason snaps he's been given, he's looked sharp, confident, ready. He knows the odds, and he's not asking for sympathy. He just wants a fair shot. The question is, will Cleveland give it to him? Louis Riddick doesn't think so. He says Shedeur's only shot now is to be spectacular in the preseason. Because without those daily reps, the only time Shedeur can shine is when the lights are brightest. No margin for error, no learning curve, just one chance to prove to a skeptical staff and a divided locker room that he belongs. And even if he's better than Flacco, better than Pickett, better than Gabriel, that might not be enough. Because as Riddick said, talent isn't the only thing that gets you on the field in the NFL. You need advocates. You need someone pounding the table for you in those meeting rooms. Someone saying, "This is my guy." Someone who sees you not just as a pick, but as a player. So who in Cleveland is that guy for Shedeur Sanders? Right now, no one knows. This is where it gets even messier. Because while Jimmy Haslam plays damage control and the coaching staff stays quiet, the fans are left to wonder, what's really going on behind those closed doors? How did a rookie quarterback with Shedeur's skill set, his pedigree, his mindset get treated like a walk-on? Stephen A. had the answer. And he wasn't pulling punches. He reminded everyone about Eli Manning, how his family told the Chargers not to draft him, and nothing happened. How other quarterbacks with egos and demands never fell down draft boards. But Shedeur, one whisper of entitlement, and suddenly he's radioactive. Let this next moment sink in, because it might just redefine how we judge players, especially black quarterbacks, moving forward. Stephen A. said it plainly. This wasn't about talent. This was about image, about narrative, about how people in power chose to twist perception into punishment. And Shedeur, he's the one paying the price. Shedeur Sanders, a 5th-round pick with a spotlight bigger than any rookie in the league, walks into a training camp where he's barely even seen the field. A camp where the reps are limited, the narrative is poisoned, and the front office can't even agree on who wanted him in the first place. And still he shows up, pads on, helmet strapped, silent but focused. Because here's the reality, in Cleveland, nothing comes easy. This is a city that hasn't had a real quarterback in decades. A franchise starved for consistency, starved for hope. And when they finally bring in someone with pedigree, with poise, with that DNA of greatness, they treat him like a temp hire. But let's be clear, if Shedeur outplays Flacco, he should start. And that's not some wild take. That's just the truth. Flacco is a bridge at best. Dylan Gabriel, a rookie with upside. Sherbert Raw, Dorian, Thompson Robinson, still unproven. And Kenny Pickett, we've seen that movie before. So if Shedeur comes out firing in preseason, if he moves the chains, throws darts, commands the huddle, the Browns have a decision to make. Not just about the depth chart, about their culture, about whether they're truly about winning, or just about playing politics. Because this kid didn't fall into their lap by accident. He fell because of hate, because of the league's collective resentment toward a father who challenged the system. Stephen A. was right. This wasn't just about a quarterback. It was about Deion Sanders. And the league saw an opportunity to humble him by humbling his son. They didn't need a memo. They didn't need a secret meeting. All they needed was shared resentment. And it worked. Until Shedeur starts playing. Because here's the part that stunned even the veterans. Stay with me. Despite everything, Despite the reps, despite the politics, despite the public doubt, Shedeur Sanders is still calm, composed, focused. And in the reps he does get, the throws are clean. The footwork is sharp. The command is real. His teammates see it. The coaches see it. Hell, the fans in Berea are starting to see it. So what happens when preseason rolls around and Shedeur starts stacking completions, driving the field, showing poise in pressure moments? What happens when the scoreboard shows he's better than the guys ahead of him? Will that be enough? Because here's what Louis Riddick said, and it's chilling. He's seen players better than the starters get benched simply because they weren't the guy the coaches wanted. He's watched staff meetings where bias beat merit. And he's telling us this league is not a pure meritocracy. You want to believe the best players play. Great. But sometimes the best players get buried if no one is fighting for them. And right now, Shedeur Sanders might be buried under the weight of silence. So who's in his corner? Andrew Berry. He made the pick, but he's been quiet. Kevin Stefanski, still non-committal. Jimmy Haslam, already distancing himself. So unless Shedeur balls out so hard that the fans start chanting his name loud, enough for the front office to hear, he may never get his shot. But if he does, if he forces the Browns' hand and makes them choose between the past and the future, between legacy and comfort, Cleveland will never be the same. And neither will the NFL. Because this isn't just about Shedeur Sanders anymore. It's about every young quarterback who's ever been told to wait their turn and then never got one. Every rookie who wasn't drafted into a team, but into a narrative. Every player whose future was decided in a meeting they weren't even invited to. Let's talk legacy. If Shedeur makes it, if he rises from 5th round, project to face of the franchise, he rewrites everything. Not just for himself, for Deion, for Colorado, for black quarterbacks, for young players who speak their truth and dare to dream loud. And what does that mean for Cleveland? It means they can either be the villain in this story, or the redemption arc. They can either be the team that buried a star or the team that finally gave their city a real quarterback to believe in. The ball is in their court. And Shedeur, he's ready either way. Because if this preseason is a test, Shedeur is already studying harder than anyone. And if this league thinks it can bury him with politics, with optics, with quiet doubt, they're about to see something they weren't prepared for. Because Shedeur Sanders isn't here for comfort. He's here for greatness. So when he steps onto that preseason field, when the crowd leans forward, when the eyes go wide, when the passes hit the numbers with precision and purpose, everyone will remember how it started. They'll remember a Browns owner who didn't believe. They'll remember a league that tried to humble a father. They'll remember the silence in the building. And then they'll remember the rookie who shut it all down with his game. One throw at a time. If you believe Shedeur Sanders deserves a real shot, if you're tired of politics getting in the way of real football, then do something about it. Smash that like button. Hit subscribe, because we're not done covering this. Not even close. Every snap, every quote, every twist in this Browns QB saga, we'll break it down right here. This is more than football. This is legacy. And Shedeur Sanders is just getting started. Stay tuned.